Now let's review firewalls. Firewalls could be software or hardware based. They are meant to prevent unauthorized access either to or from the private network. They are located at a gateway between networks. They monitor messages coming to or going from the internet. And they can focus on traffic types or source and destination addresses and ports. There are different types of firewalls. There's the bastion host. This is a public-facing host. It's a system that protects private network resources. It'll have two interfaces, one facing the internet, one facing the private network. You could have a screened subnet or a DMZ. This is two back-to-back firewalls, an internal and an external. And the screened subnet, of course, does not allow access to the private area, neither does the bastion host. You could have a multi-homed firewall with, well, actually, you could technically two or more interfaces, but it would be even more than that to further subdivide the network based on security goals. So we could have like a perimeter network that is acting kind of like a DMZ, and then a private network, and then a very secure network. All of these are hanging off of a multi-homed firewall. Here's a classic example of a screen subnet. I have two firewalls, and they'd better not be the same make and model, because you hack one, you hack the other. I've got people on the outside, people on the inside, and I've got servers that provide services to the public, like web server, email server, DNS server, sitting in the screen subnet, in the DMZ. This is like the classic DMZ right here. Now for filtering, your firewalls, they could be simple packet filtering. And any router has this. It works at mostly the network layer or the IP, also the IP layer of the OSI model. So it's, yeah, let me do this again. Oof. Now for filtering in firewalls, you have the basic one, the packet filter. It works at the network layer of the OSI model or the internetwork, the IP layer of TCP/IP. Every router has this capability. It will compare each packet individually to some kind of rules before the packet is allowed. And it can either forward or drop the packet, drop meaning discard, or go ahead and send a message to the originator. The rules could include IP address, source and destination, port number, source and destination, and protocols used. Now, packet filtering firewalls, they have no memory of what came before. They simply take every packet and check it against the rule set. So they are the least secure of all the firewall types. We call them stateless. They do not know if you ever had a handshake. They do not know if you started on one port. They're just checking each packet individually, separate from every other one. You could also have another type of firewall called a circuit level gateway. This works at the session layer of the OSI model. It also works at the IP and TCP and UDP layer of TCP/IP. Information is sent to a remote computer via a circuit level gateway. It looks as if it came from the gateway. Session creation requests are monitored and permission is determined. So data streams are permitted or denied by circuit proxy firewalls. What's good about circuit level gateways is they see that you started a handshake and they see that you started on a particular port. And if any of that stuff changes, then they'll detect that. So they are stateful, they are not stateless. Now the most sophisticated version of these basic types is called the application level gateway. It's also sometimes called a proxy. It filters packets at the application layer of the OSI model or the application layer of the TCP/IP model. It examines payloads. And what it does is there is a service for every protocol. Like there's one for HTTP, one for FTP, one for Telnet, one for Gopher, or whatever. If you don't have a service that supports that proxy, then it either is not going to allow the traffic or it's just going to route it with just some basic packet filtering. So the traffic is examined and filtered on application-specific commands. In other words, what is inside the packet? What is the actual data payload? Now, the concept of stateful and stateless. Packet filtering was stateless because it has no memory of the packet before. Stateful is the other kinds, the circuit level, the application level. They keep track of the whole handshake from the beginning to the end and everything in between. Most firewalls now work at multiple layers, at least layer 3 on up in the OSI model. So you prefer to have stateful multi-layer inspection firewalls. They can be a combination of packet filtering, circuit level, and application level gateways. They filter packets at the network layer on up, and they evaluate contents at the application layer. Now, I just want to also mention that firewalls have gotten very sophisticated. You can have firewalls that get their signatures from the cloud. You can have firewalls that even work down below layer 3, like even at layer 2. You can have firewalls that are part of what we call unified threat management. It's a firewall and a VPN server and a proxy and a spam filter and an email relay and a whole bunch of things all put together, and data loss prevention and endpoint protection and anti-spam and antivirus. So you can have these more sophisticated things called unified threat management, which includes a firewall inside of them. So that's our primer on firewalls. Let's move on to honeypots.